plenary lecture, I would request our online audience that if they have any questions during the session, kindly note them down in the chat box. Your queries will be answered at the end of the lecture. And we are also streaming live, for which you can check on the Facebook page of ITM Baroda. For our first lecture, I'm inviting our chief guest, Professor Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan sir, to deliver the lecture on integrative medicine to combat COVID-19. Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan has over 40 years experience in research and development in the area of evidence-based Ayurveda, ethnopharmacology, drug discovery and development, and integrative medicine. He is fellow of National Academy of Sciences and member of important national committee of UGC, CSIR, DST, DBT, ICMR, FSSAI, and Ministry of Ayush. He is former vice chairman of University Grant Commission, New Delhi. He has worked on boards of several universities and on committees of Niti Aayog, National Knowledge Commission, and Planning Commission. He is founder editor-in-chief, Journal of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicines, published by Elsevier, and is on editorial boards of many reputed journals. He has authored many books and chapters with reputed publishers, including Elsevier's, Academic Press, and Wiley's. He is recipient of many awards and oration like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Award, Waldemar Haffkine Oration Award, and many more. He has guided 20 PhD students, have 8 Indian patents, 2 US patents, and over 175 research publications with over 10,000 citations. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan sir to deliver a keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you again, Dr. Manika and Dr. Vijay Kumar. Today, what I will plan to do, first let me tell you that the topic which you have selected, integration of herbal drugs with modern medicine to combat COVID-19, and also you are talking about future pandemic, is very important. I will try to give my reflections and also try to present before what are the new opportunities in this new normal, what all of us are facing. And the COVID-19 pandemic, as all of us have witnessed, it has really created some kind of an existential crisis. And while this is all going on for last 1.5 years, we still don't know what is the origin and how this virus is spreading. It has remained still a mystery. At the same time, both rich and poor countries are affected by this virus. The initial strategy on the WhatsApp university knowledge also is floating around. But we certainly know that as of now, we don't have any definitive treatment. Vaccines are there, several vaccines are there. Our own Indian vaccine, Covaxin, is also there. And like Dr. Vijay Kumar mentioned in his inaugural speech, we are also proud that we crossed 1 billion mark of vaccination in this country, which itself has created so much of excitement, not only in the country, but appreciation from different corners of the world are also flowing. Slowly, the epidemiological data is emerging about the COVID-19 pandemic globally, as well as in India. I would say in India, the data is still very, very limited. There have been, we witnessed various contradictory claims, overclaims, exploitations, and also politics during this pandemic. I would say that we also witnessed massive breakdown of trust because of several reasons. when people were actually suffering the real brunt in the midst of the pandemic. Now we are having a relatively better environment, as Dr. Hingorani also mentioned, that we hope that the third wave don't touch us and we get out of this very soon. But while doing this, we will have to continue with good practices which we have learned during this. And these are some of the opportunities in adversity, what we would like to call it as. And Dr. Goyal also mentioned about this during his talk, that how new opportunities are coming up in this adversity period, especially for the herbal drug research. That is mainly because COVID-19 has emphatically exposed inadequacy, I would say, or for that matter, if I may say, incompetence of the existing healing systems, which are currently dominated by the allopathic way of treatment. COVID has brought modern medicine or allopathy and traditional medicine at the same level playing field. And both we know that have strengths and some weaknesses. And this COVID havoc has paved way for pragmatic intervention and pragmatic integration. Why integration? I must tell you that while biomedical sciences have progressed substantially during last century, the global crisis in healthcare is deepening. The affordable, accessible healthcare is still a distant dream. The triple burden of disease, especially now with the epidemic of non-communicable diseases and lifestyle disorders, what we are witnessing is really a matter of worry. Diet, lifestyle, and socio-behavioral changes are happening. The geriatric population is increasing, and most of the geriatric population is reported to have at least 2 to 3 chronic conditions, and so you can imagine their dependence on medicines. The high-tech interventions and pharmaceutical drugs are becoming more and more myopic. Dr. Goyal, this is what I feel. You are a renowned pharmacologist, but our view to look at drug is becoming myopic. We have been only focusing on one target, one disease, but how can we manage complex polygenic diseases, like metabolic disorders or metabolic syndrome, or for that and we will have a magic bullet. I think this is not going to happen unless we take a holistic view towards a person, and this is what is the basis of the traditional systems like Ayurveda, and the chart which you see on the backdrop, gives a glimpse of the vast knowledge that Ayurveda presents, and how that knowledge can be useful in discovering newer, safer, people don't look at it very seriously, and that's why his frustration, which he expressed, I also share that. But what are we doing today? If you look at the medical therapeutic scenario all over the world, I would like to quote a paper which was published in British Medical Journal in 2013, in which they talked about the causes of deaths in US. And you will be surprised to know that the third cause, after first is of course heart diseases, followed by cancer as the second, but the third cause of the disease was reported as medical errors. So what does it mean? Medical errors. Now people don't like to use this term medical errors, so they have started using term unintentional injury, And if you look at the JAMA article published in March 2021, JAMA has reported that the COVID-19 has taken over the third place, but the medical error and unintentional injury continue to remain the fourth highest cause. We also have to think that why is it so? And these are the reported findings I'm telling you from reputed journals. And I'm asking this question, why is it so that when the doctors go on strike, not in India, in different countries, including Canada, US, and UK, when doctors have gone on strike, the general health of the people and mortality really has gone down, And when the nurses have gone on strike, this was exactly reverse, So why when doctors are not there, people are remaining healthy, and why nurses are not there, people are dying more. These are some of the questions as pharmacy students we have to really think of, because pharmacy, obviously, our focus is on medicine, drugs, physical drugs, but there is also something beyond mere pharmaceutical drugs or physical drugs, and that understanding also has to seep in the minds of pharmacologists and pharmacists, So pharmacist's job may not be over just by dispensing or just by discovering new drugs. Our role to look at health will have to be much more profound and much more wider than what we think. I must tell you that the pharmaceutical pressures have been all over the world so much that top journals like JAMA, American Board of Internal Medicine, British Medical Journal, or Lancet, they have highlighted the issue of medical overuse. Doctors and the systems are using drugs more. Drugs are wonderful and drugs are required. But when we start overusing them, including diagnostics, when we are overusing diagnostics or medicines, it is not good for the people. And we always say, I mentioned, and I remember my mentor, Dr. B.M. Hegde, talking about it. He says that we are moving from healthcare, we have moved to health cure, medical cure. And from healthcare to medical cure, we are now in an area of health scare. We are actually scaring people, and you can remember various advertisements, full page advertisements coming in newspapers, that scare people. Do you have diabetes? Then you will have risk of amputation or kidney failure or this and that, and people really get frightened. Even in case of COVID, we saw how the scare was created. And now we are actually moving in the fourth phase of this, which is health scams. During COVID time, we have witnessed a lot of frauds, lot of scams in our own country as well as in several other countries. And when we talk about health, I remember John Evanidis. John Evanidis is one of the topmost medical researcher from Stanford. He is heading Meta Research Innovation Center at Stanford, known as Matrix. And he has posed this question that why most published research findings are false. And one of published in the Lancet, I think 4 or 5 years ago, actually showed that 85% of the biomedical research is going into waste. And you can imagine the kind of resources are getting wasted and lost. And all of us, those who are in the field of research, we know that even in the field of pharmacy, you just go to what kind of quality of research of our MPharm dissertation is, and you will get your own answer. You can ask this question, what is the quality of PhDs coming out of pharmacy? You will get this answer. There are very few people, I would say, in the field of pharmacology or pharmacy in India who have really done serious work. And Dr. R.K. Goyal, who is going to talk about it, is one of them. Consistently for several years, he's following one lead. And I was so happy, Dr. Goyal, when I learned that you are taking it to the logical end now. And I really wish you all the best, and I'll be happy to help in any way to happen help to happen that from my capacity, whatever I have. To conclude my first part, I would say that COVID-19 pandemic adversity has taught us that the experimental approach, which all of us are used to, which is based on science and technology and leads to evidence-based medicine, is not enough. But experiential approach, which is based on traditional wisdom, traditional knowledge system, and which is practice-based evidence, is also important. And we have to move from typical medical care, which is about illness, sickness, drug-centric curative approach, to preventive care, which is more about prognosis, diet, lifestyle management, to healthcare, the true healthcare, which is about public health and personalized medicine, which is person health wellness centric integrative approach. Because in today's situation, what we have actually done, I'm asking these questions, that what are we doing? Are we really giving medicines or foods? The kind of prescriptions which you see doctors are giving. One prescription for simple flu-like condition, 8, 10, 12 different medicines, all kinds of medicines, starting from plain painkillers to different kinds of NSAIDs to antacids to steroids to antibiotics. Are we giving them food or medicine? Because many of such simple influenza-like conditions can be controlled by just managing your food. With good fresh fruits, citrus fruits like orange, lemon, these are or ginger and turmeric, these are the simple. So are we giving nutrition or are we giving supplements? What are we doing sitting in our own home? We are busy in, are we talking to our own family members, or we are on busy on chats on mobile apps? Have we really converted our living rooms into home theaters and outsource our home kitchens to delivery platforms like Swiggy and Zomato? What are we doing? Why we are moving towards consumerism more and more when minimalism has been our strength? Mahatma Gandhi, who hails from the same state where ITM Baroda is being founded, he talked about minimalism. And minimalism, not only Mahatma Gandhi, but our Indian philosophy has talked about minimalism. In Bharat, we have been grown with the ideas of conservation right from the beginning. Wastage was not there in our culture. This kind of a waste which we are producing today is all coming from the Western ideas and Western influences. And so what are we really discussing today, or what are we trying to do? Are we trying to really manage only illnesses, or really we are interested in creating a wellness environment? These are some of the questions we should ask, and COVID has highlighted this importance of these questions very well. Before going further, let me tell you a good news. Based on the kind of work which we have done in India regarding COVID and traditional medicine by Minister of Ayush, and I must compliment Secretary Minister of Ayush Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha and all his team. Because of that, the World Health Organization has taken cognizance of this work, and the Director General of World Health Organization has announced on November 14, 2020, that the Global Center for Traditional Medicine will be established in India. And our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is champion for all this, has immediately accepted this, and now establishment of this Global Center for Traditional Medicine under the aegis of WHO will be one of the important deliverable during this year of 75 years of independence of us, or Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav as it is called. Now coming back to the more bricks and mortar of what is happening in case of COVID in India. Let me tell you, COVID typically is a disease which goes through various phases. And I'm not going to talk about these phases in detail, because now everybody knows that phase 1 is of incubation, which affects the immune homeostasis. which is followed by the suppressed T cell response, lymphocytopenia, low macrophage function, which progresses further, wherein there is even intense inflammation, and there is a cytokine storm that happens, which, if continued, leads to tissue damage and multi-organ failure, leading to massive alveolar damage, especially, and then in serious cases, disease like condition like ARDS, or acute respiratory distress syndrome, leading to death. So this is all, in short, this disease is about, and this COVID must tell you that most of the patients who get this infection of SARS-CoV-2 virus, they are majoritarily asymptomatic, mild, and to moderate cases. So the real critical care is required only for those who progress ahead of moderate. So before moderate, mild and asymptomatic majority of the patients can be well handled with very, very simple home remedies. And Ministry of Ayush has come out with many advisories, and I would advise you to go through those advisories. And many now home care patients have used that, and we decided last April, when Ministry of Ayush decided to establish a task force, Ayush task force, or Ayush interdisciplinary task force against COVID-19. We formed various subgroups, and Dr. Goyal was also one of the member of one of the subgroups, and these subgroups planned various trials. These subgroups created various protocols, and if I want to give you a broad picture, as of now, there are about 126 studies that are happening in 150 locations in India. Not only in India, now controlled studies are happening even in UK at different 8 or some centers, and there are more than 130,000 participants who are participating in these clinical studies. Out of that, about 66 trials are on Ayurveda, 13 trials are on yoga, 8 trials are on Unani, 13 studies are on Siddha, and 26 are on homeopathy. So this is the huge work that is going on as related to Ayush interventions in COVID is concerned. I must tell you that most of these studies have robust protocols. Most of these protocols have been registered at CTRI. Most of these studies follow good clinical practices. Most of these studies have independent data safety monitoring board, and many of these studies also have taken help of professional CROs, and they also face external audits. So all this which is required for good clinical practices, we have been able to do that. Some of the study results have started coming up. For example, Ayush 64 and Kabasura Kudinir results are already out, and we have published those results. They are available as preprint, and some of the results are also available now in peer-reviewed journals, especially Kabasura Kudinir and Ayush 64 results are already available in some peer-reviewed journals. We have just completed a major statistically powered multicentric randomized controlled clinical trial comparing hydroxychloroquine with ashwagandha for prophylaxis, so for prevention of COVID-19. And I'm happy to share results with you just which have emerged and which are in the peer review in one of the journals. But I may share these results with you that we have shown that ashwagandha is not inferior to hydroxychloroquine. In fact, it is much better because it has a very, very high safety profile as compared to hydroxychloroquine. Therefore, it becomes a much better drug, much safer drug than hydroxychloroquine for prevention as well as for the management of mild cases. I also want to tell you that various studies in preclinical, have shown very good promise, and these studies have been undertaken at the top laboratories in India. For example, Department of Biotechnology and Ministry of Ayush has entered into agreement under which a lot of studies have happened at THSTI, which is one of the lead laboratory of DBT located in Faridabad, Delhi area. And Professor Madhu Dikshit, who was earlier director of the CDRI Lucknow, another premium institute, she is leading these preclinical studies at THSTI, wherein she has shown that immunomodulatory activity of various agents which are used in Ayush 64 or other drugs like Ashwagandha, they are very, very effective as antiviral agents, which she has studied in Syrian hamster model. There are so many studies which are coming up. Their safety studies are also being undertaken. Their pharmacokinetics also is being underway. So a lot of things are happening. The Ashwagandha study is very, very promising. In addition, Ministry of Ayush has come out with a collaborative agreement with the Ministry of Science and Technologies Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, or CSIR. And CSIR's institution is Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine located in Jammu. That institute is one of the lead partner, and CSIR has undertaken 4 controlled studies, and these studies are again multicentric studies in collaboration with CCRAS, Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences. Out of that, Ayush 64 study is already completed, and the preprint is available at MADE archives. Ashwagandha study also is completed, and that preprint is also available, and the preliminary results have been published in Elsevier Journal, Complementary Therapies in Medicine. The journal is, and the final report is in the peer review again. A report has also shown that a combination of Guduchi and Pipli is very, very useful in mild cases of COVID. And this study was completed at one of the top tertiary hospitals in India, which is Medanta Hospital in New Delhi. And this study also has been published now in JAIM. The study on Yashtimadu results are awaited, but study has been completed. All these are multicentric, randomized controlled clinical trials. So the quality of work is slowly improving, and the herbal drugs, all these studies which have undertaken in collaboration with CSIR, I must tell you that the drug material which was used for the treatments was highly standardized, and it was supplied by Farmanza Herbals. Managing Director Dr. Lal Hingorani is with us today. He has been very kind of providing the standardized materials of Ashwagandha, Guduchi, Yashtimadu, Pipli in a very good, with very good CMC data that he has provided for the clinical trial purposes. So there is so much to talk, but I just wanted to give you a few highlights, and I'll be happy to provide any more information if there are any questions. But the kind of work, preclinical work as well as clinical work, which is underway in the various parts of India is commendable. I must also mention that industries also have not fallen behind. Many industries have come forward. They have undertaken controlled clinical trials on their own products, and many of these products, some of them have been cleared by Ministry of Ayush, some of them are still undergoing review process, and I hope that India will be able to provide safer and effective herbal drugs which are well quality controlled to the world for management of not only COVID-19 but also the future threats of pandemic which may come or which may be faced by us. One new study we are planning, we are trying to co-administer Ashwagandha along with vaccine, and we want to see the safety, immunogenicity and protection of Ashwagandha on the vaccine COVID-19 vaccine. We, based on our earlier study, we feel that ashwagandha will be able to improve the immunogenicity of vaccine. And this, we are planning a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, multicentric clinical trial in New Delhi, Mumbai, Jaipur, Pune, Hassan, Belgavi, and Nagpur. In all the cities, this trial is likely to be started within next 1 or 2 weeks. The sample size again will be statistically powered. We will be talking about 1,200 volunteers who would participate in this ambitious clinical trial. As I told you, Ministry of Ayush has come out with what is called as Ayush Sanjeevani mobile application, in which over 1.5 crore health seeker database has been captured. 1.5 crore. About 85% respondents out of these 1.5 crores have reported that they have used some kind of herbal remedies or some kind of Ayush measures for prevention of COVID. And about 63% of the respondents have reported that they have felt improvement in general well-being, appetite, their bowel habits, sleep, mental status, etc. Not only these 1.5 crore health seekers, but about 75,000 physicians, strong in pharmacy like ITM Baroda also have a major role to play. Happy that experienced pharmacologists like Professor R.K. Goyal and experienced industrialists and chemists like Dr. Ingorani are connected with you. I'm sure your university also can take a lead in developing new remedies for not only COVID-19 but also for the upcoming pandemic. That's what the theme you have chosen for. I would end by thanking ITM SLS Baroda University and all those who have contributed for this excellent organization of this conference. I wish you all the best. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was really a very wonderful session. And participants, if you have any query, you can write in the Q&A section. Oh,
yeah,
okay, sir.
So, yeah, Manika, just I would like to ask this, sir. It's an excellent presentation by Bhushan Padvardhan sir regarding the clinical studies on Ayush across the India. Sir, do you think that we are eating too much and that is responsible for lifestyle disorders, sir?
Absolutely, you are very right. Not only we are eating too much, but we are eating too much unwanted foodstuffs. And this is one of the major reasons of the non-communicable epidemic which we are facing. Is this COVID-19 is immediate threat, but we are sitting on a volcano. Means this kind of bad habits of food as well as lifestyle are responsible for several metabolic disorders which we are witnessing. That's why I said, Dr. Vimal Kumar, that role of pharmacists is also going to change. And as a pharmacist, we cannot restrict ourselves only to physical drug. We have to start looking at a whole person as well as the whole system. And that's why I wanted all of you to see this systems Ayurveda chart just before me. This chart is, there are 230 data points, knowledge data points drawn from Brihatrayee, Sushruta and Vagbhat. And this is just a first cut. If you take each one of these points, each one of that point can be expanded further. Like if you take one point in this chart, which is Rasayana, you can develop similar kind of a logic chart on Rasayana also. So these are the knowledge which is existing in our own systems, traditional system. As pharmacists, we should look at this knowledge and try to use this knowledge to build our future research. This is what is going to be the future for pharmacists. But overeating, what you said is absolutely right. Obesity, which we are facing, is one of the major problem. Yeah.
So,
thank you,
sir. Sir. If there is a problem of the style only, sir. So if we remove the style from life, I think life will be happy, sir. So, and you rightly said the one word, sir. I am a Jain from I am a Jain community, and Mahavir Swami said in Hindi, "Aparigrah," and that is actually the real word is aparigrah. Whatever you require, that we can take it in minimum quantity. So that will help definitely, sir.
You're very right. I can tell you, Dr. Vimal Kumar, from my own experience, I think that if you eat less, your appetite gets adjusted to that. And now science also is supporting this, If you eat more, you feel eating more. If you feel less, eat less, you feel eating less. So we are really based. I am also fan of Jain philosophy, Buddha philosophy. With the aparigraha, what you talked about, or the Panchashil, what has been preached. If we follow those principles, we don't need medicines, we will be able to manage on our own, because in the whole process, we have ignored the power of mind to heal our body. We have ignored that. At the same time, by several reasons, we lose health, and that is part of life. So when we lose health, when we fall sick, then medicines are necessary. So what I'm talking about, I'm not talking this undermining the importance of pharmacy and medicine. I'm in fact highlighting their role. But I'm saying that we should not overdo anything. Like what you said, overeating, over prescription is also one of the problem. Over medication is also one of the problem. And this problem now is being highlighted at the top level. And therefore, journals like BMJ, Lancet, I told you, have come out with the campaigns against overuse of medicine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, there's a question for you. Sir, how can we differentiate between jaundice and liver cancer? Because their starting symptoms are same. So can pharmaceutical industry develop any type of medical kit to identify the type of disease? Or is there any herbal medicine to detect that type of medicine in the earlier stage?
No, this question I will leave it to Dr. Goyal to answer, because he is one of the authority on liver also, so I'll leave it to him. But let me tell you that we need not take a myopic view that we will be able to develop some medicine which is maybe one drug or one herb, that is unlikely to happen, and the beauty of herbal medicine is the diversity of chemistry. That is the beauty of herbal chemistry, there is the diversity of structures. And so in some of my articles, I've elaborated this concept, that there is a natural combinatorial chemistry happening in medicinal plants. So much of structural diversity. So you need not look for one particular structure which will fit exactly in that receptor, And so the network pharmacology, which our group has come out with, as a new tool for drug discovery, pharmacological networks. We develop pharmacological networks of Ashwagandha and many other plants, including formulations such as Triphala. Now, if you look at Triphala pharmacological network, you will realize that why Triphala can be used for a variety of different conditions. One drug, but variety of different conditions. Because the way in which you give Triphala is different. Triphala you give sometimes in cold water, sometimes in hot water, sometimes with honey, sometimes with rock salt, sometimes with ghee. So why this is happening? That is because there are more than 200 bioactives in Triphala, and your body requires those bioactives in particular condition, and those bioactive absorption is facilitated through these vehicles, which in which it is given. So I would say Triphala is an intelligent formulation, which allows your body to respond, and your body is intelligent enough to absorb or to take what it wants and discard what it doesn't want. But if we force something in our body, then obviously the side effects are bound to be coming up. So liver, I would say that it is one of the most important organ. If you are able to manage liver well, you would have managed most of the diseases well, including the metabolic syndrome. The diabetes may see its root in pancreas, but if you look at the metabolic chart, you will realize that things are getting concentrated to liver. So managing liver, and that's why in Ayurveda also managing liver has been given one of the most important aspect of managing liver. So hepatoprotective, and there are a lot of hepatoprotectives available in herbal medicines, And while at CSIR Nimitli program, Dr. Ashok Vaidya was leading, who also is my mentor, and who came out with this idea of reverse pharmacology, which we practice, And Dr. Ashok Vaidya showed that formulation was effective in even conditions like NASH, or even conditions like serious liver disorders. They were able to manage with herbal formulations very, very effectively. Lot of data has come out of that research through CSIR Nimitli Herbal Drug Research Program. You may browse through, you'll be able to get some of the papers also. But this is what a long answer to your question, which I said that I will leave it to Dr. Goyal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For our next plenary lecture, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Professor Dr. R.K. Goyal, sir. Professor Dr. R.K. Goyal is the Vice Chancellor of the first Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University of India, Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University. He is former director at NMIMS University and professor at LM College of Pharmacy. He is former Vice Chancellor of MS University, Baroda. He has over 40 years of experience in teaching and research. He was post